Hello, everyone. Welcome to our podcast. Today, we're diving into a fascinating topic about language learning and the importance of using the target language in classrooms. It's a concept strongly recommended by ACTFL, which suggests that over 90% of class time should be spent in the target language. This approach is not just a guideline, but a transformative practice for both teachers and students.
Wow, over 90%. That's quite a lot. But why is it so important to use the target language that much in the classroom?
Great question. The idea is rooted in the concept of comprehensible input, which is essential for language acquisition. By immersing students in the target language, they get more exposure, which helps them absorb the language naturally. Think of it like learning to swim by being in the water, rather than just reading about swimming techniques.
Ah, that makes sense. It's like when I learned to ride a bike, I had to actually get on the bike and pedal, not just watch videos about it. But, how does this benefit the teachers?
For teachers, using the target language extensively helps them model the language effectively. It allows them to create a more authentic learning environment. Imagine a chef teaching cooking by actually cooking rather than just talking about recipes. It builds their confidence in using the language and helps them connect with students in a more meaningful way.
Interesting. So it's beneficial for both sides. But what if students get lost or confused? I mean, isn't there a risk of them not understanding anything?
That's a valid concern, and it's where the art of teaching comes in. Teachers can use various strategies to ensure comprehension, such as visual aids, gestures, and context clues. It's like being a tour guide in a foreign city, using maps and signs to help tourists find their way. The key is to build trust with students, ensuring they feel comfortable signaling when they don't understand.
I see. So it's about creating a supportive environment where students feel safe to express confusion. Kind of like a safety net in a circus act, right?
Exactly. And when students know they won't be left hanging, they're more willing to engage and take risks in using the language. Over time, this leads to greater language proficiency and confidence. It's a dynamic process that evolves as both teachers and students grow together. Now, let's talk about building trust in the classroom, which is crucial for facilitating high levels of target language usage. Trust is the foundation that allows students to feel secure in their learning environment.
Trust, huh? That sounds a bit like a friendship. How does it work in a classroom setting?
That's a great analogy. In a classroom, trust means students believe their teacher is committed to helping them understand the target language. One effective strategy is using signals for students to indicate when they don't understand something. It's like having a secret handshake that says, "I need help," without feeling embarrassed.
Oh, I love that idea. So what kind of signals are we talking about? Like waving a flag or something?
Not quite a flag, but similar in concept. Some teachers use simple gestures, like a thumbs down or tapping their head, to indicate confusion. The key is for teachers to respond to these signals promptly, showing students that their understanding is a priority.
That sounds really supportive. But what if a student is too shy to use the signal?
That's where teacher commitment comes in. By consistently encouraging and celebrating the use of these signals, teachers can create a culture where it's okay to ask for help. It's like a coach cheering on their team, making sure everyone feels valued and heard.
So it's about creating an environment where students feel safe to express their needs, kind of like a family dinner where everyone gets a chance to speak.
Exactly. When students trust their teacher and feel supported, they're more likely to engage with the target language, even if it means making mistakes. This trust empowers them to push their boundaries and grow in their language skills.
I can see how that would make a big difference. It's like having a safety net while trying something new. You're not going to fall too hard.
Precisely. And when students know their teacher is committed to their success, it fosters a positive learning environment where everyone can thrive. Let's move on to the mindset and motivation required for teachers to maintain high levels of target language usage. It's not just about trust between teachers and students, but also about teachers trusting themselves and their students' potential.
That sounds like a tall order. How do teachers cultivate this mindset?
It starts with self-trust. Teachers need to believe in their ability to create an immersive language environment. Marnina Falk, an expert in language education, emphasizes that everyone can learn an additional language with the right support, It's like being a gardener who trusts that with the right care, every plant can bloom.
I like that analogy. But what about trusting the students? How do teachers set high expectations without overwhelming them?
Paul Sandrock, another expert, points out that students actually expect high levels of target language usage. Teachers often hold back due to fear, but setting high expectations can motivate students to rise to the challenge. It's like setting the bar high in a high jump. Students will strive to clear it with the right encouragement.
So it's about finding that balance between challenging students and supporting them. Kind of like being a personal trainer who pushes clients to their limits but also cheers them on.
Exactly. When teachers trust in their students' abilities, it creates a positive feedback loop. Students feel empowered to take risks and engage more deeply with the language. It's all about creating an atmosphere where growth is celebrated.
That makes a lot of sense. It's like building a ladder for students to climb, one rung at a time, with the teacher holding it steady.
Yes, and as students climb higher, they gain confidence and proficiency in the target language. This mindset not only enhances their learning experience, but also enriches the teaching process.
It's inspiring to think about how much impact a teacher's mindset can have on their students' success. It's like lighting a fire that keeps everyone warm and motivated.
Now that we've covered mindset and motivation, let's dive into some practical strategies for increasing target language usage in the classroom. These strategies can make a significant difference in how effectively students engage with the language.
I'm all ears. What are some of these strategies?
One effective approach is setting communicative goals. This means focusing on what students can do with the language, rather than just learning about it. It's like setting a destination on a map and planning the best route to get there.
That sounds practical. So instead of just learning vocabulary, students might practice ordering food at a restaurant or describing their daily routine.
Exactly. It gives context to their learning and makes it more relevant. Another strategy is using rejoinders, which are short phrases that students can use to react to situations. It helps them participate in conversations naturally, like adding seasoning to a dish to enhance the flavor.
I love that. So it's like giving them tools to keep the conversation going. What about nonverbal response?
Nonverbal responses are great for reinforcing understanding without relying solely on words. For example, students can use gestures or facial expressions to show agreement or confusion. It's like using body language to communicate when words aren't enough.
That's clever. But how do teachers balance using the target language with the student's native language?
It's important to find a balance. While the goal is to maximize target language usage, occasional use of the native language, or L1, can be helpful for clarity and comprehension checks. Think of it as using a flashlight in a dark room to highlight key areas.
So a little L1 can go a long way in ensuring everyone is on the same page. What about the role of modeling in slow speech?
Modeling is crucial. Teachers can demonstrate how to use the language in real-life scenarios, providing a clear example for students to follow. Slow speech, on the other hand, helps students process and understand the target language better. It's like tuning a radio to get a clear signal.
I see. By slowing down, teachers give students the time they need to catch up and comprehend. It's like watching a slow-motion replay in sports to catch all the details.
Precisely. These strategies, when combined, create a supportive and effective learning environment that encourages students to actively use the target language.
It's amazing how these practical steps can make such a big impact. It's like having a toolkit for language learning success.